I survived a mass shooting at a movie theater because my husband was willing to sacrifice his life to save mine. Many years ago, my newlywed husband and I went to go see the new Batman movie. No more than 20 minutes into the movie, a loud bang erupted from the left side of the theater. I sort of screamed a little because it startled me. A strange smell started to fill the auditorium. It was like the smell of a firework, so I thought it was a cherry bomb or something similar. Then, down near the right side of the movie screen, the dark silhouette of a person caught my attention. They were just a black frame against the bright movie screen. A series of flashing lights was coming from this person. I was completely frozen, unable to move and really unable to think at all. My husband Brock caught on immediately to what was happening, and he grabbed me. He pulled me to the ground and lay on top of me, shielding me with his own body. At this point, time and sound returned to me. I could hear the sound of multiple gunshots now ringing out across the theater. People were screaming. The movie was still playing on top of it all, creating a chaotic explosion of sound. I realized the flashing lights I had seen were bullets flying out of a GN barrel. An instant sensation of adrenaline flooded my body. There was absolutely nothing I could do except lay there and hope to God that the bullets I heard ripping through seats and walls wouldn't go through me too. At one point, shrapnel hit my head, cutting off a chunk of my hair, and as I reached for the spot to make sure it wasn't bleeding, hot pieces of metal fell into my hand. I was lying face up, so I could see everything. The lights from the still playing movie danced across the ceiling. My friends were on the floor with me. Our popcorn was spilled across the floor. My friend Leo had his legs sticking out into the aisle because there wasn't enough room for him to hide completely behind the seats. Samantha's water bottle exploded, splashing water over my face. The smell of GN smoke was overwhelming. Riot-grade tear gas made me cry and cough uncontrollably. There was another smell too, the horrible metallic smell of blood that I'll never forget. I remember my lower body feeling wet all of a sudden. I thought this came from the water bottle, but I soon realized this wasn't the case. All of a sudden, things went strangely quiet. The bullets had stopped. Tommy shouted, "Let's get out of here." We took advantage of the opportunity and made a run for it. We ran down the stairs, across the front of the screen toward the bright green exit sign. We crammed into a small closet-like space where the door was. It was so dark we had a hard time finding it. We were screaming and slamming on the walls, blinded by the tear gas and dumbfounded by shock. Then my hands felt the metal door handle and I pushed against it with all my strength. The door flew open and the light of a nearby streetlight flooded our eyes. We pushed against the door so hard that we all fell onto the concrete. Samantha lost her flip-flops just outside. As I scrambled to my feet and ran for my life, I realized my legs were red, absolutely soaked with blood. I checked my body all over and realized I wasn't injured. Where had this blood come from? I looked behind me and realized that the blood was my husband's. He had been shot in the leg. A massive gaping hole had ripped through the lower half of Brock's right leg. His foot was barely hanging on and dangled lifelessly. Leo and a young man I didn't recognize were carrying Brock because, after falling outside the door, he lost all his strength and couldn't walk. I was completely shocked. I had no idea he had been injured, especially since he was right behind me the whole time and managed to escape the theater all by himself. How he did it on one foot, I'll never know. At this point, I screamed. My scream was so loud that it alerted nearby construction workers. They carried Brock along the back sidewalk to the corner of the building. My husband then collapsed from exhaustion and pain, saying he couldn't move anymore. He lay down and a puddle of blood started to form beneath him. I looked back and realized we had left a trail of red leading from the door all the way to our current position. I was trembling. I knelt beside Brock and glanced around to see who else was injured. Tommy had been hit in the knee and the hip and was further away in the parking lot. The teenager who helped my husband was also injured. His parents were with him. His mom was sitting against the wall bleeding from several places. That family escaped at the same time we did. I guess they heard the bullets stop and decided to make a run for it too. We were all lucky because the shooting was still going on inside. I had to take off my shirt and use it to stop the bleeding. I'll never forget how lifeless and limp his leg felt, and I imagined that's what a dead body must feel like. I got red all over my hands and arms. The police showed up really fast. A female officer stood by us until paramedics arrived, which took a very long time. Brock was one of the last to be taken to a hospital. He was bleeding out for almost 20 minutes before an ambulance pulled up. Had survived, though many others weren't so lucky. I found out the following day that 12 people were called in this shooting and over 70 were injured. The little 5-year-old blonde girl with Down syndrome sitting in my row did not survive. She died in the theater no more than a few feet from us. She had been hit multiple times. A heartbroken police officer who cried during his court testimony tried unsuccessfully to save her by carrying her out of the theater and having her sent to a hospital.